Hi, I'm Jason with Monster Personal Training over here at Boise Fitness Equipment. We're going to do a three-part series on suspension training involving the TRX suspension system here. Part one, we're going to focus on chest and back in particular, or upper body. A few key points to point out, starting out, is positioning one. The more vertical you are with the moves, whether it be a pull or a push, the easier it's going to be. So if you're just starting out, staying a little bit more upright, it's going to be a little bit more conducive to strength levels. Versus if you're a little bit more advanced, you can move down into a lower position like so. If I'm in a push-up position in this case, this would be a little bit trickier. As you can see, my body's incorporating just holding that position, so that would be indicative of difficult. Secondly is positioning in the arms. The way we got this rigged, it's actually really difficult to get friction with the handles or the straps against the arms, but one thing you want to remember if you're doing an exercise like a push-up is that you actually want to go down and have space separated between the straps here and your arms, just a little bit of separation. You don't want to rubbing against your arms. One, I guess for lack of a better term, it's cheating, and it's not going to challenge you as effectively. If you have to resort to that, it's a little bit better to move into an upright position like this, as opposed to letting those rub against your arms. So making sure you have that little bit of separation with the move when you're doing upper body, whether it be a push and a pull, and I'm going to go through all those exercises, including the push-ups as well. Other things too to look at and to be aware of that are common, and again, it's a matter of adjusting your body position into more upright if you are finding these compensations, is one, on a push move in particular, is either the hips kind of sagging or swaying with the movement, or my favorite, worshiping the fitness gods, and actually doing almost a bowing like movement. Point I'm getting at, and the last key point with upper body moves, your body wants to maintain a nice straight line from head all the way down to the ankle as you go throughout the movement. So as you lower yourself down, keep your abs tight, everything should be in a nice straight line as you execute the movement in the downward and the upward phase. So with everything with the key points that we just did, we'll tie into the first chest exercise, which of course this is more of the push-up of what I demonstrated. Now, there's a couple variations with that move that we can do. And again, I'm just going to keep it more in an upright position, like so right here, keeping that separation, engaging my abs, and I've got my palms facing towards the floor, so kind of a more traditional light push-up position. My arms are shoulder width apart, I lower myself down, just to the point where my hands are about in line with the rest of my body, press myself back, nice and control, about 2 seconds each way. Now, a variation we can do with that can be more of a fly motion to where we can turn our palms facing inward. Sometimes it's even easier to kind of either grip from the outside of the straps like so, and go almost more of a fly motion to where we keep a little bit of bend in the elbow like so, still and letting the hands get to about in line with the rest of the body, press ourselves forward, and a nice controlled motion like so. And again, like I said on the key point, getting lower would of course make that a lot more challenging. And then to finish it off with the chest segment, or be more of the triceps, or the secondary muscle group, would be just a tricep press or a skull crusher. Arms are shoulder width apart. We maintain that nice alignment from head to toe. The difference here is that our arms stay out in front of us and we just simply bend at the elbow joint to where we're at 90 degrees. Extend your arms back. Focuses on the triceps a little bit more than just the chest alone. Repetition range can vary depending on your training goal. If you're looking more for endurance, usually 15 to 25 reps. More in a traditional strength zone would be somewhere between 8 and 12. Now, same principles are going to be applicable to anything that's in the pulling motion. The key point of the arms rubbing against straps aren't as big of an issue in a pulling motion because we're facing away from the TRX. But in terms of strength, everything still applies the same. The more upright we are, the easier. The lower, or the more inverted we are, the more difficult. Keeping our body nice in the line from head to toe, just like we did on chest. Starting with the palms in, just going to pull-up motion. Retracting the shoulder blades at the top, chest should remain out. Slowly control back down. Your compensation for this is either kind of a butt sag and kind of using a little bit of momentum. Not that that is an exercise, that'd be more of a squat row, but with a pull pull up, we're just looking to go strictly back. We keep that alignment in check, just like so. The other compensation, of course, would be the arch or the overleaning of the lower back. Your hips should remain underneath your shoulders during the movement. So if you are resorting to the arch, same thing. Take maybe a small step back, get a little more upright so you have a little bit more control at the top. One thing to also note that's really key is making sure on your pulling motion that you don't come to the top and let it go slack. So you want to maintain a nice good tension against the TRX or the suspension straps that you're using throughout the entire range of motion. And then our last exercise, well, a variation to that, before I skip ahead to the biceps, would be a wide row. So rather than having palms in, you go palms out and go a little bit wider with our move to where our arms are bent to 90 degrees up either side. Slowly lower back down. And again, staying within a repetition range that's conducive to your training goals. Typically with a wider pull versus a narrow pull, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to execute the movement. So staying a little bit more upright on a wide pull versus narrow is usually going to be the adjustment you're going to need without, again, compensations that I talked about the arch. Another common one would be possible shrug on this one, or kind of a rolling forward as you come up to the top. Secondary muscle group and anything that involves pulling, which of course we're working lats, we're working back, is a bicep curl. Kind of like with the triceps on the flip side, we keep the arms out in front of us like this, shoulder width apart. Key difference is that the elbows stay up. And I always make a joke like, you know, you get your son or you get your daughter, nephew, niece, nephew, you want to show them the gap and say, why you flex your bicep? That's kind of what you're thinking. Your wrist stays locked, bring it up to the top, flex the guns, lower back down, 2 seconds each direction. Common compensation on this one. It's not necessarily compensation, but most people will sometimes resort to the row motion thinking that they're doing the bicep. Effective exercise, but if we're looking to do a bicep curl, you want to keep the arms out in front of you. Bottom or the top part of your arm stays stationary. It's just from the elbow down that executes the movement with that. And then one last advanced variation that I could show before we wrap up segment 1 is putting this into a single arm position. I'll just kind of show this here in the camera. And this, of course, would be more for the advanced user. Thread it through once, thread it through second time, give it a little pull, make sure it's stabilized. And now if you want to get really adventurous, you can go into a single arm version of a push-up. Definitely need to be more upright with this one when you eliminate one of the arms that we're using. Also, wider stance, wider base of support. Gauge the abdominals, slowly lower ourselves down, press ourselves back, keeping the shoulder down out of the ear, everything in alignment from head to toe. Down, back. If you need to counterbalance a little bit with the other arm, kind of keep it out to the side to help the rotational force of not having a load on this side. That's one way you can do it as well. And of course, to flip it around, you can do the same thing with the pull. Whether it be palm in on the pull motion, you can go out wide with it. You can also even add a little bit of a rotational move with it. Lots of things and lots of variations when you go into the single arm version. That wraps up the upper body portion, segment 1, suspension training. I'm Jason's Monster Personal Training over here at Boise Fitness Equipment.